The clapped out garage Volvo truck is finally ready for paint. So before we were actually ready to paint, we had to fix a few things that we didn't get done in other videos. We had a few adjustments to make with some of the body work. We had to apply a little bit more body filler in a few places that weren't quite the way we wanted them to be. And then we had to sand down the entire car. All of the panels, the doors, the fenders, everything needed to be sanded down. And it was a complete mess. There was dust everywhere, so we took it outside, blew it off with the leaf blower, then loaded up our $10 Harbor Freight paint gun with acetone, sprayed the whole thing down with acetone, and wiped it down so that there would be a nice clean surface for the primer to stick to. And then we had very little taping off to do, and at that point we were finally ready to start mixing the primer and paint this thing.
We got these awesome masks on, so it might be kind of hard to hear what we're saying. Go ahead and tell them what you're doing, Evan. Tell them about this stuff. I'm mixing the primer right now. I don't think you need a mask on for that, but I have it on anyway, so once I get it done, I can just go shoot it. Yeah. I've got a mixer 4-to-1, regular mixing cup here. I got this Director Metal high build primer. It's like a 2-in-1 thing. So we're gonna use that. This is not a tutorial, by the way. This is just what we're doing. Oh yeah. This can's really full because I'm dumping the sides all out. Isn't there an easier way to do that? Oh yeah, look at that. Wow. I don't know if there's an easy way to do it. I thought I was getting more in there. Yeah, I feel like you could have put more in there. So I can do this every day. I don't know these things.
So obviously the first coat of primer came out looking terrible and did not go on well at all. It sprayed out in this really weird gritty texture and coverage was not good. And our air compressor even had a hard time keeping up with the spray gun, which should not have been a problem with the air compressor that we were using. So we did a little research and we found out that the $10 Harbor Freight spray gun that we were using had a 1.4mm nozzle on it, and there are no other options to buy other nozzles or tips for this gun. It's only 1.4mm, but the primer we were using needed closer to a 2mm tip. So we drilled out the tip on the Harbor Freight gun that we had before we sprayed a second coat, and that made a huge difference. The second coat went on much better. And after we had a second coat on, we were able to see some imperfections in the bodywork that we didn't get quite right the first time. So what we needed to do was block sand the entire truck with 240 grit and apply some glazing putty before we could move on to another coat of primer. Oh no, that's a golf book. It's about golf courses. Just make sure you do a good job. The whole reason we're doing this now is because we didn't do a good enough job before, so.
Oh, that's because you did.
Okay, so our final coat of primer is all done and it's sanded, and then we blew the place out with the leaf blower and wiped everything down with solvent so we can be ready to paint now. So we are ready to start laying down the paint. Nice clean workstation here.
Oh
Oh wow, look at that. Oh,
So cool.
did you mix it? Did you mix it well?
Shook it a bit.
Look at that.
I'm gonna stir it.
Stir it, dude. Come on.
That's nice.
It is a little darker. Oh wow, look at that.
Oh yeah. That's pretty good.
After 3 coats of color, the truck looked really good, so it was time to find all of the fasteners and put everything back together.
You want to tell them what we're doing? The wiring for the power windows was too difficult to figure out.
It wasn't too difficult to figure out.
It was kind of a
Did
pain.
you tell them the true story? We got another 240. We got crank windows.
Yeah, we got our 240 over here for parts with crank windows. And crank windows are much better than power windows.
Oh yeah.
So we're swapping those out. And they don't have the clear tint that the other ones did.
Yeah.
So they look much nicer anyway. So Jake is swapping the crank windows on here. And we verified it still runs.
It does. Yeah.
It does run.
That's big.
Yep.
So right now, we're just kind of taping off the body a little bit here because we are going to use a bed liner type material for the top of these rails and for the inside side panels of the bed. And we're gonna bring it down to about right here where the tape is. We've got to drill holes in these detachable side panels so that they can be fastened in there with sheet metal screws. Boom! Look at that. Wow. Now we gotta take them out. This is just a generic brand bed liner type product. And there's not too much pressure to make it look perfect because it inherently kind of hides flaws, so that's good. So at this point, we have the Volvo truck mostly put back together. The interior is mostly put back together. We've got things like the bumpers on and the headlights. Most of the painting is done, and right now we are in the process of measuring out and cutting the boards for the bed. These are cedar 1x4s, right? 1x4 cedar. And we're gonna be using that for the bed. It should look pretty good. It should hold up pretty well. Being outdoors after we oil it, after we sand it and oil it. So right now, Evan's measuring and cutting these. Hopefully you're doing a good job measuring, Evan, right? Forgot to mention how good of a job Evan did on these windows. Using the existing trim and the Lexan. Looks really good. It's not perfect, but it definitely is better than just having sheet metal there.
So one of the last things we got to do on this is finish up the bed floor here. I've got the cedar all cut, got it marked out. This is the center board here. So I've got this measured and fastened in. Now I can start laying out the rest of them and just gotta drill and screw everything and then cut out the side pieces there, so we should be good to go.
All right, so the bed's in. Evan went over it with the belt sander. So now Evan's gonna put some
Danish oil. They didn't have any Swedish, so we're gonna do Danish.
So I guess that'll suffice. Wow.
So we're pretty excited that this thing is finally done. It took forever, it took a ton of work, and now it's done. And I mean, it's not really sunk in for me that it's like done yet. Whenever you have a car like this, any car that you really care about, I mean, it's never really finished. There's always little things you're gonna do to it, you know. And we've got plans for this, you know, and it needs a couple things, but that we turned it into a truck. It's painted, it's put together, it runs, it drives, it can go down the road. We can use it if we want to, you know. I mean, that's just awesome. Yeah, I mean, we had to do it, you know. It's just one of those things you have to do. Now we have this, it's done. We're keeping it, we're gonna do more stuff to it.
Yeah.
We've got big plans for it. You know.
I mean, it's a truck.
Yeah, I mean, big, like 5+ liters plans.
Plus.
Yeah.
Plus.
Thanks for sticking with us through this video series of getting this thing done. It was really fun. It was really difficult. We're glad we did it, and we've got big plans for this and for other projects. So stick around.